the presence of God around us, the joy of God between us, the love of God enfolds us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, Failte. Welcome to this place and welcome to this worship as we gather in this spirit-filled place. It is our 22nd year gathering in this worship tradition, honoring, celebrating our ancestors in faith who 249 years ago embarked on a journey to these shores. And today, once again, we lift up their strength of spirit as we bring to mind their traditions and the stories and the legacy of those Hector settlers, which are so deeply rooted in our community and indeed in many of our very beings. It is a strength of spirit that continues to inspire. And so it is in worship with praise and prayer we are linked across the pages of history. History is a complex and nuanced matter. And as we seek to live in that awareness, it is vital that as we gather, we do pause to acknowledge that the lands upon which this church is built, upon which our community is built, are the ancestral, cultural, and traditional, the unceded lands of the Algonquin Nation and the Mi'kmaq peoples. This place, named as Pictou, the explosive place. Stories are told, indeed, of welcome and support, of hospitality to strangers that was offered by the first peoples. But we lament that respect, that mutuality was not honored. We are a people deeply aware of the legacy of pain and broken relationships, of broken treaties of peace and friendship. It is part of our past, and it is part of our present. And so as we gather this day, as we continue in our own day to hear news reports of people used as pawns, we pause, we grieve, we lament. But we also commit ourselves to the unlearning and the relearning of our history. May we seek to listen. May we seek to live in ways of respect. May we seek to live with a change of heart and attitude, so that our being together, our worship together, may be grounded in the love and justice of the one who calls us into ways of right relationship and reconciliation. All my relations. Pjila'si, Failte, welcome. As we gather, as always, I do want to acknowledge that this gathering is only made possible because of the generous offering of so many. Many folks who year after year, when my emails or my phone calls go out around this Sunday, respond with a yes, I'll be there. I'm not going to name everyone involved in worship, but I do want to say thank you to one and all for your offering this morning. It is deeply appreciated. Our musicians, our singers, our storytellers, our pipers, our decorators, our oat cake makers and biscuit makers and tea steepers, all very much appreciated. I do want to say that unfortunately our dancer, Allison Parker, our dancer and teacher, is feeling unwell and unable to be with us. And Amelia hasn't quite perfected her fiddling and Highland dancing at the same time. But if there's anyone here who wants to get up in the midst of worship and offer a little jig or Highland dance, I'm not just looking at anyone. Any dancing would be greatly appreciated and greatly welcome. But we do gather in a spirit of thanksgiving this morning. I do want to extend a formal welcome to Lloyd McLean. Lloyd is a friend to many of us, and as many of you, or I hope many of you know, Lloyd has joined our Ministry of Music team, and we are grateful that you're with us this morning, Lloyd, and hopefully next Sunday we'll be able to welcome you in a less busy way, but welcome this morning.
Nice to be here.
Good to have you. Our worship bulletin has a number of announcements regarding our life and ministry, but also on the back about the ongoing celebrations today that begin at noon at the McCullough Genealogy Center. So please take note of that, and after gathering here and gathering for a cuppa downstairs, you can head out to the center for an afternoon of celebration. So please take note of that. As a piece of information, next Sunday, for us as a community of faith, will be a time for us to mark and honor September 30th, which is Orange Shirt Day and the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Again, a time for us to ponder the work of right relationships as we seek to live in ways of justice and right relations. And so next Sunday, you're invited, if you wish, to wear an orange shirt to worship as we mark that day. If you're moved by the spirit of goodness and generosity this morning and would like to offer a gift in support of our life and work and ministry, there is an offering plate at the back of the sanctuary, or you'll also find information in our bulletin regarding ways that you can offer your support to the life and work and ministry of Pictou United Church. This morning, our bulletin is offered in loving memory of Lonnie McKenzie by Patty, Jordan, Caitlin, Jenna Rose, and family. Thanks be to God. Also, as noted in your bulletin, though I know there'll be times in worship when you're moved to offer an expression of thanks, I would invite you to hold your applause until the end of worship so that we can flow through our worship liturgy, and please note there will be an opportunity to offer your gratefulness as we move towards the end of our worship. And of course, drawing on our heritage, when we meet, it's always good to eat. And so following worship, all are invited to make their way downstairs to our church hall for a cuppa and a bite to eat. And eating together and being together does fill our day with much goodness. So please join us following worship. And so let us gather. Arise and shine, for our light has come.
The glory of our God has risen upon us.
O God, open our lips,
that we may proclaim your praise.
O God, open our eyes,
that we may behold your presence.
O God, open our ears,
that we may hear your voice.
O God, open our hearts,
that we may respond to your love.
O God, open our lives,
that we may rejoice with all creation.
From the rising of the sun till its setting in the west,
God's holy name be praised.
On the lips of children, by babies at the breast,
God's holy name be praised.
In the visions of our elders and the dreaming of our young,
God's holy name be praised.
In the beauty of this place and in forgotten corners of our world,
God's holy name be praised.
Let all that has life and breath praise the Lord.
Let us praise the Lord.
It is said that to begin and to end the day in prayer is to wrap the day in sanctity. All events and encounters within that time are then encompassed by God's care. And so we begin our day in prayer. Please join me. Almighty God, Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer, Son behind all sons, soul behind all souls, everlasting reconciler of our whole beings, show us in everything we touch and in everyone we meet the continued assurance of thy presence around us, lest ever we should think thee absent. In all created things thou art there. In every friend we have, the sunshine of thy presence is shone forth. In every enemy that seems to cross our path, thou art there with the cloud to challenge us to love. Show us the glory in the grave. Awaken for us thy presence in every storm, till all our joys are seen as thee, and all our trivial tasks emerge as priestly sacraments in the universal temple of thy love. You may have noted that our gathering prayer is adapted from a longer prayer written by the Reverend George MacLeod, the founder of the Iona community in Scotland. It is said that Reverend MacLeod would often, in his beginnings of the liturgies in the Iona chapel, would say, God is now. God is now. God is not out there, distant, separate from us. God is now. here. And we are thus grounded in God. And so God in the now is also an understanding that God becomes flesh in the now. God becomes flesh in us and through us. So what is essential to each day and each moment is to be alive to that moment, to be alive to the God in the now, to be alive to God's presence. And so we're invited to be alive to God's presence that's made flesh as we gather, God's presence that's made flesh in the faces of one another, God's presence made flesh in us and through us. To welcome one another, to greet one another, is to welcome and to greet the Holy One. God is now. Come, God, come journey with your people, for you alone are our strength and glory. Like our ancestors in the faith, we welcome you. Come, God, come dwell behind us, beside us, before us, for you alone are our shelter and direction. Like our ancestors in the faith, we welcome you. Come, God, come seek and find and put us right, for you alone are the light in our darkness. Like our ancestors in the faith, we welcome you. Come, God, we know you are near. The sound of your footsteps sets us singing, dancing, and praising. Like our ancestors in the faith, we welcome you as we welcome one another. I saw a stranger today. I put food for him in the eating place, and drink in the drinking place, and music in the listening place. In the holy name of the Trinity, he blessed myself and my house, my goods, and my family. And the lark said in her warble, often, often, often goes Christ in the stranger's skies. Oh, oft and oft and oft goes Christ in the stranger's skies. Christ be beside me, Christ be before me, Christ be behind me, giver of life. Christ be within me, Christ be below me, Christ be above me, companion and strength. The peace of Christ be with you, and also with you. Namaste. Let us greet one another with a gesture of peace, be it the namaste, a wave, a smile, a handshake, whatever feels comfortable. Let us greet and be with Christ. Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.
I'll come over and offer you.
Thank you, Jim.
Jesus Christ.
Hi, how are you? Good.
Peace.
Amen.
Each year as I ponder and plan this worship, I ponder anew the thoughts, the worries, the hopes, the prayers of those Hector voyagers. I think about those long days and those long nights, those times of uncertainty, those moments perhaps filled with high hopes, and indeed moments filled with deep anguish. I think about their thoughts, and I think about those this day seeking refuge and a place to call home, landing on our shores and many other shores to ourselves. I think about those people, and I'm drawn back to the ship Hector settlers. What must have laid upon those hearts? We can only, knowing the history, seek to imagine the thoughts, the prayers of the people of the ship Hector and those early settlers. I am, however, confident in assuming that there were many times when they wondered what the future might hold. Times when they would have cried out to one another and indeed to their God. Times when they would have sought the comfort of one another and their God. And as people of faith and steeped in that faith, they would have turned to the words of their faith. For those early settlers, the ballast of their life was faith. And I believe we can safely assume that accompanying them on their journey were words of comfort and assurance and hope and courage. Perhaps for some it was packed in their back pocket or in a bag that they brought on board. It was called the Scottish Psalter. And the words of the Psalter would be etched on their minds and hearts. And so it's appropriate today that we turn once again to those ancient and yet timeless words of the psalmist. Words that we refer to as the 23rd Psalm. These are ancient words of prayer and praise, spoken to us across time and across traditions and across languages.
Thank you. On September 15, 1773, an old Dutch cargo ship, battered and storm-weary, crept into Pictou Harbor. In her hold of 200 tons burthen were 33 families, 25 single men, their agent, and a piper. In early July, these passengers had decided to leave their homeland and boarded the ship Hector at Lochbroom, Scotland. They had decided that anything would be an improvement over the conditions they were leaving. You have to understand that the vessel was decrepit. Well past her prime, passengers could walk along the deck and pick rotten wood from her gunwales. In fact, the return leg of this journey would mark Hector's final voyage. From Pictou to Scotland, abandoned on the banks of the River Clyde, and left to rot. The first 2 weeks at sea were peaceful, almost serene. Then the weather in the Atlantic turned. What happened next is almost indescribable. Storms, disease, pestilence, appalling living conditions, starvation. 18 died, most of them children. Their tiny bodies wrapped in canvas and committed to the deep.
Hush, dear child, it's time to sleep. We must commit you to the deep, but you are now in heaven's hands, while we move on to newer lands. Day by day we'll think of you and wonder what we might do. If only you could still be here to bring your joy from year to year. Rest in peace, dear child, we pray. Your blessing
Next, a hurricane blew the Hector 2 weeks back into the Atlantic. The frantic passengers begged the captain to turn the ship about and return them to their homeland. But he steadfastly refused, and the Hector sailed on. Now, as the story is told, it is said that a child was born during the last few days of that voyage. The child, a baby girl, a symbol of new life. But perhaps more importantly, it gave those passengers some reason for hope. Finally, on that mid-September day, the Hector dropped anchor, and after nearly 2.5 months at sea, the weary passengers made their way to shore. And at journey's end, lay many years of hard, back-breaking labor to make the promise of a new beginning come true. Now, the story of the ship Hector has long been celebrated in tales of early Highland settlement. It marked the beginning of a mass immigration to the New World, one which would have a lasting and profound effect on the social makeup of this continent. But it is best remembered for those brave souls who, in the face of the unknown, were prepared to sacrifice all, and who, through their perseverance and courage, made a better life for themselves and those who would follow. We pause today and reflect on the sacrifices made by those Hector settlers. But we also pay tribute to all persons who, through choice or circumstance, face the same decisions in their lives today in the hope of making a better tomorrow. We trust and pray they will take advantage of their opportunities and seize the day.
Take a new path.
for traditions that enrich us, and stories that inspire us, and voices of praise that fill us. For so many gifts offered and received, we do give thanks. One of our changes that came about, mainly due to COVID and protocols, was to change how we offer thanks, how we offer our gifts of thanks, be it financial gifts or prayer-filled gifts. And for the last number of months, in this time of worship, I invite the congregation to have what I call a gratitude moment. To just take a moment and perhaps think of one thing, one person, one event, one thing in our world, one thing for which you are grateful. And just to hold that for a moment. Sometimes folks offer it aloud, but I know sometimes that feels uncomfortable. So I just invite you to hold for a moment that for which you offer thanks this day. We are a people of abundance. And that abundance invites us to live in ways of generosity and gratitude and hospitality and sharing. Our presence, who we are, makes a difference. And we have the amazing ability to make a difference in the lives of one another, in the life of our community, and indeed the life of our world. We are called to share the gifts that we have and the gift that we are. And for that I give thanks. So thank you for making a difference. Thank you for the support you offer to this place and the work and ministry we share as we seek to make a difference. Thank you for your good presence this morning. We give thanks for all that the Holy One can do without us, and for all that the Holy One can do through us. Blessed be. Let us pause in a moment of prayer. Creating One, our God, our hope, our help, companion, source of all love. For this day, for this moment, for this very moment, for the company of friends around us, for the sharing of gifts enriching us, for each breath we take, for the water we drink, for the air we breathe, for the food of the land, we give thanks. For freedoms we should never take for granted, for a faith that grounds us and enfolds us and upholds us, we give thanks. For all that has been offered and honored this day, we give thanks. May we live in great fullness, ever aware of the gift of the now, the gifts of one another, the gift of every breath and every word and every deed. For every breath and every word and every deed is our prayer.
I will now pray the Lord's Prayer, also known as the Prayer of Jesus in Gaelic, and you are invited to join me praying the Lord's Prayer in the language of your choice. Our Naha, Ahai Nev, Gnevr Den, Ike Doria, Janet the Hall, and Halak, Saranegi, again. Horkain Jew, Bagdad Marga, Agus Magrin of Theatre, Arlo Varis Shinya, Carlo Fiat, Agus Nalika Mahurichi, and Sir Shino O, or as Lexa and Ria, Agus a Core, Agus a Glow, Gushiri. Amen.
As we move towards the closing of our worship, we also move towards an ongoing gathering of friends. So again, the invitation to join together downstairs over a cup of tea and coffee or something cool to drink and a bite to eat as we continue to meet and greet one another and join in celebration as we mark this historic weekend and anniversary within the life of our community, and again, look forward to next year, to the 250th and some extra special celebrations. So thank you for being with us this morning. You've been well behaved. You've held back. Even though I could feel there were times when you just wanted to get up and dance. I don't know what happened, but I do want to extend my deep appreciation to everyone who is part of this worship and make this worship possible. And I invite you to join me in offering your gratefulness as we offer our thanks and our applause. Indeed, we are blessed. Indeed, we are called to be a blessing. In the leaving, in the letting go, let there be this to hold to at the last. The enduring of love, the persisting of hope, the remembering of joy, the offering of gratitude, the receiving of grace, the blessing.
We all know these things.
The guarding of the God of life be on you. The guarding of the loving Christ be on you. The guarding of the Holy Spirit be on you, to aid you and enfold you each day and night of your lives.
We'll now finish with a sung Gaelic blessing, very much like what you just heard, but in Gaelic, in the original Gaelic. And it's based on a blessing in the Carmina Gadelica called Calm and Gay, God's Aid.
Dear
Cataract with that, gee, completely waiting